For my fellow Docusign users, have you ever wondered what's the difference between a radio button and a checkbox? I'll show you. Let's go to my computer. Now, I have this makeshift document because I just wanted to show you how to use a radio button versus a checkbox. So I just thought I'd create something really quickly to show you so you can follow along. Now, the main difference between the two of them is that you're going to use a radio button when there is only one answer to the question. For example, a yes or a no. It really can't be both. You'll want them to choose one or the other. So then you will use a radio button. If there's ever a situation where the client has the option to make more than one selection, or maybe you are checking a box for them to initial because they missed it or they forgot it. Maybe you're doing your AVID and you need to check the box on the TDS to indicate that it's attached. The checkbox is a really good option because it will only populate one checkbox at a time. Although you can add more, you would really only need to use one in certain situations unless there are multiple choices to be made. I'm going to show you what they look like on the screen in Docusign so that you can follow along. So we will start with a checkbox. Now, most people will use the checkbox for a multiple amount of reasons. Now let's start with a checkbox. So I'm going to grab a checkbox and drag it to the document. Now you'll notice it is a single checkbox with the plus sign down below. And over to the right, a menu populated that correlates with the amount of checkboxes that I have on my document. So the more that you add, the greater this menu here will grow. So let's just say, for example, we need to add this checkbox to check a box on a document for the client. When they receive it, we want the box to be checked for them because checkboxes are optional, which means when the client receives it, it will just be a square box. It will not really tell them what to do. And because it is optional, they will be allowed to skip it. And I have a lot of people tell me, hey, I dragged the checkbox to the document. How come it wasn't checked when I received it back? Here's the key. You will want to check that box for them in those situations, or maybe for yourself, like maybe you're adding your AVID and now you need to check the box on the TDS. This is how you check the box so that the client will see it on their end when they're signing. Over to the right, checkbox values is an equal correlation to what is on your document here. So this one box is equivalent to this one box. If you check the box to the right, you will notice that on the screen, your actual checkbox on your document is now checked. So that way, when your client receives the invitation to sign, this box will already be checked for them. This will eliminate that situation where you receive the document back and it is empty, it is unchecked, they didn't even reference it. It will be checked for them. They can just move past it and keep going. Now you'll notice there's a plus sign that will allow you to add additional checkboxes if you like. Now, when I click this particular plus sign, you will notice that I get a second box that I can drag over to the right. You will also notice on the right-hand side of your Docusign menu that I now have two checkbox under the checkbox values. You can also select this one, and again, it will populate the checkbox. So if you're ever in a situation where you need to include multiple checkboxes, this is the way you do it, and they're manipulated over to the right-hand side should you need to check it on your client's behalf. Now, sometimes we have questions on documents where there is only one answer that is correct. For example, again, the TDS, let's say, for example, has yes and no answers. Now, there are also other documents that you may send out to someone where there's only one answer that is really, really needed. In this case, it would be a better option to choose a radio button, which I love these. So when you drag the radio button over to the document and you let go, you'll notice that it automatically populates two. Now, this is the difference between this and the checkbox because it is essentially stating that there's going to be at least one of two answers that it could be. The difference with the radio button is that they can only select one. So when you place this here, you will notice you'll now have a menu that says radio button values, and you'll see that you have one of two. Now, same thing with the checkboxes. If you check one, it will check it for your client, but you'll notice that instead of being able to check both, now you can only check one or the other. And again, the reason being is because radio buttons are meant to only have one answer, although there might be multiple questions or multiple choices. So when you're ever in a situation where it's a yes or no, something like that, you'll want to use a radio button. If you're just cleaning something up, or maybe you're just checking one box for yourself or your client, then the checkbox is going to be the best way to go. So I hope this helps with your next document.